Hey Fit Travel Tribe, this is Mike, and in today's episode, we're going to talk with you guys about gift-giving ideas for the fit traveler in your life. And we're going to expound on why experiences might be better than physical items. And we're also going to talk about some strategies to deliver experiences on a budget. And above all, at the end of the show, we're going to talk to you a little bit about what everybody can use a little bit more of this holiday season. We're excited to share this about 45-minute episode with you, and we truly hope it adds value to you in your everyday adventure.
So if you like this and you want to become a part of our Fit Travel Tribe, you can do so by attending our fitness retreats, subscribing to our email list, and by joining the official Fit Travel Tribe Facebook group. You can now join the pre-sale list for our Spring 2020 fitness retreat by subscribing to our email list. Our email list will have an exclusive opportunity to fill the limited spots available for our fitness retreat. And we're so excited to share more about that amazing event soon.
So how can you support the show? We get this question a lot. Number one, you can join us on our next fitness retreat. And you can get information about that simply by signing up for the pre-sale list. And you can do that just by subscribing to our email list. Super simple. Marissa and I love the generous spirit. It's kind of why we even host this show. So if you're not interested in joining us for our next fitness retreat, the best way that you can support us and support what we're doing is simply by subscribing to our show and giving us a 5-star review. It's short, sweet, and completely free, and it really helps us reach more people. If that does not strike your fancy, then just share this episode with a close friend or family member, someone that you know it can add value to. And, if that doesn't really excite you, then there's always a PayPal donation link on our website. That's twofittravelers.com. where you can drop a few bucks, or on our website we also have tools, apps, resources, and all kinds of great stuff that we use to stay fit and healthy on the go. You guys can use those, and some of them actually do contribute to the show.
Welcome, Fit Traveler. Thanks for listening in today as we dive into another fun topic where Marissa and Mike aim to deliver life-giving insights and encourage you to live a healthier, more adventurous lifestyle. Let's get into the show.
Guys, this is Mike again, and I'm going to tell you a quick story to get us rolling, and then Marissa's going to join us in the conversation. So one of our friends, we'll call him John. He waits in line at a big box retailer, let's say Best Buy, for, say, 3 hours. He intends to be in and out in 30 minutes, but he's there for 3 hours. And so he fights his way into the store. He's there for one item that he knows is going to be a super great deal. He saw it in a magazine or online. Finally fights his way into the store. After about 30 or 40 minutes, finds himself in line at 10 p.m. on Thursday, Black Friday, and he's just waiting there with his big item. He has a cart. It's a big box, way too big for the item that he was there for, but he didn't want to stand there holding the item in line. After about 15 minutes, the line has moved 1 inch, and he looks over to his left in this maze of an aisle that Best Buy has formed with, conveniently, other items that are on sale. And John recognizes that he can get a DVD player for, quote, 60% off retail. Rather than thinking logically, our friend John grabs the DVD player and says, hey, a DVD player would go great with the USB stick that I came in for, and it's 60% off. After all, it's a great deal. So he throws it in his cart. He moves another 10 inches in the next 15 minutes, and to his right, he notices a deal on Kindles, Amazon Kindles. Buy 3, get the 4th free. And he says, 4 is the same number of nieces and nephews that I have, and if I can get a free one, I might as well buy it. Neglects the price, throws 4 Kindles into his cart. A few minutes later, he's about 10 feet further because the cash register personnel recognized they needed help, so the line speeds up a little bit, and John looks to his left and sees USB cables, 60% off. He says, well, crap, I can never find this deal any other time of the year, so I better buy 5 just in case. And John adds 5 USB cables to his cart. Before finally arriving at the checkout After about 2 hours in the store, John has added close to $250 to his original discounted purchase, and somehow, some way, ended up with 2 subscriptions to various streaming services and has subscribed to email lists for no less than 5 different companies, and also is now a lifetime member of Best Buy Rewards program. Now, I don't share that story to knock Best Buy at all. I think it's a wonderful company and they do great things. I share that for the beginning of our conversation that Marissa and I will dive into here shortly.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. I hope you loved that story from Mike. We'll get into that in a little bit. But first, our travel news of the episode. If you are a fan of the hazelnut spread Nutella, we have a really awesome travel tip for you today. The Hotella Nutella, as they're calling it, is opening for a weekend only in Napa, California. You guys, it is ridiculous. Everything is decorated with everything is decorated with Nutella. There's so many different spreads and pillows, and chefs are coming up with crazy dishes, and it is crazy. All you have to do is submit a video saying how Nutella makes your breakfast great, or what Nutella means to you, before the end of the year. Now, that hotel is only open from January 10th through 12th, and it's just that weekend. You have to submit a video to get accepted, and if you're a Nutella lover, good luck, because it is going to be a sold-out event. So
that's right.
Go travel news.
I know that Marissa is a lover of Nutella, and that's certainly a place that we're going to consider visiting.
It's so random. Yeah. I love it. I'm excited.
Real quick, guys. Yeah, so in the fitness world, every year the ACSM, which is the American College of Sports Medicine, one of the most reputable organizations in the fitness industry, puts out a list of the top, typically it's around 40 trends in the fitness industry. And the interesting differentiation that they make, one of the reasons that they put out this list is to differentiate between fads and trends. Now, you don't have to geek out about this as much as I do, but it's really exciting to recognize the trends that stick around year after year after year. They're true trends. So the ACSM estimates, based on a poll from the fitness industry, what those trends are going to be. But if you look back over the past decade, for example, that's about as long as I've been following the list, you'll see things that have kind of stood the test of time over a decade. And it's really interesting to note. I want to share what's on the list this year, some things for you to think about. Number 1, wearable technology. Number 2, HIIT, high-intensity interval training, HIIT. Number 3, group training. Number 4, training with free weights. And number 5, personal training. I'm not going to list all of them, but I wanted to share one thing. So as a fitness professional, or with Marissa and I being in this sphere where we're coaching people on health and wellness, I like to recommend things that I know are not just a passing fad and are going to stand the test of time, stick around. And sometimes I need to look outside of my own base of knowledge. I mean, I feel like I have very limited knowledge, having gone through the length of educating myself in this world as much as I have. And which is interesting to note, by the way. We can talk about this some other time, but talk about the process that people go through with regards to education. In general, people that know very little love to talk a lot, and people that know a lot tend to talk very little about the topic with which they're educated. So long story short, these things, wearable technology, HIIT training, group training, training with free weights, personal training, because they've been on that list for a long time, I know inherently that those things have made a lasting impact on people for years and years and years. So if you're wondering how to take your fitness to the next level, here are a couple tips that you can take away from this information. Number 1, find a tracker, a fitness tracker. That can be a watch. I've seen rings, I've seen necklaces, whatever fits you. I think a Fitbit or an Apple Watch are perfect choices, perfect directions to go, because they're going to give you subtle reminders about your wellness, steps, hydration, mindfulness, you name it. High-intensity interval training, group training, training with free weights, and personal training all have 2 major themes within them. Number 1 is accountability, and number 2 is effectiveness. So if you're looking for an effective way or a more effective way to train, and your regimen does not mimic the intensity or the interval or the regimen of HIIT training, then maybe you should steer your training toward that theme of being a little bit more high intensity, or maybe a little bit more jam-packed with intensity, higher intensity in a short amount of time. Or maybe you should find an accountability partner, something like a group, something like a personal trainer, or go back to the beginning with that Fitbit, not the Fitbit specifically, but the fitness tracker. Those things can help you to up your game. So tons of resources like that out there. If you love geeking out like I do, let me know. I will send you an overwhelming amount of information.
Awesome. So with that, we're going to go ahead and get into our topic today, which is centered around the idea that maybe you should think a little bit differently about your gift-giving experience this year. And we'll kind of get into that a little bit more here. But hopefully you listened to the story that we put, and it was kind of a funny story and a little bit exaggerated, of course, but it shows a picture of what gift giving has come to in society today. Obviously, we don't, think that gift giving is a terrible thing and it's evil.
Certainly. We don't discourage gift giving. We're not trying to create an extreme message. We're simply trying to prove a point, like paint a picture, and sometimes some exaggerations are kind of humorous.
Yeah. So going along that line, this year we want to encourage you to think a little bit differently about the gifts that you're giving. If you read our recent blog, we talked a little bit about the concept of marketing mayhem.
The series.
And
right?
a couple of different blogs. And when we did that series, we really wanted you guys to focus as consumers with the marketing and the things that companies are employing to really get you to purchase their items. And obviously the sales, the Black Friday, those kind of things, they really play into and they can really get you to impulse buy.
Yeah, this idea of marketing mayhem is centered around the simple fact that we all know, which is companies are built to sell you things. And when you play into their storytelling and their marketing, then you're giving into potentially, and I would argue in most cases, buying something that you don't necessarily want or don't necessarily need. Mm-hmm. And so let's say that you are John in that story and you're out shopping. You're gonna add other things into your cart, or you're gonna find yourself outside of your normal routine simply to grab onto something that somebody else has told you is valuable to you, usually through a price break or some type of combination deal. So we're aiming with this episode to help you break out of that mindset and really deliver a gift or deliver an experience really to your loved ones that is truly going to add value to them. Mm-hmm. It could be an Apple Watch, it could be some piece of technology, it could be a gift or an item that they couldn't afford on their own or that they've been looking forward to, or maybe your love language is giving gifts. That is all good and well. But what Marissa and I have experienced and what we want to share with you is the joy that we feel when we give experiences.
And the reason that we find that this creates so much more joy is just that the memories that come with it. And so kind of a question that Mike and I were pondering while we were creating this episode is, what is your favorite Christmas gift that you've ever received? And a lot of us, half of us probably, can think of at least one gift that has really made an impact. Mike was joking about Stretch Armstrong, and that was kind of a silly gift that they remember, in their family. But then we kind of got to the question, can you remember any other gifts that you received that year?
Yep. So we had this conversation at length, and the only two gifts, other than so my sister who lives in Mexico does this really amazing thing every Christmas where she'll get us something handmade from Mexico, and they're all super special. I have a cup and a plate and a bowl, basically like a kit, like a foodware set. And I know that it's from her because it had a lot of significance behind it. That would be case number one. Case number two is two items that we remember from the past 2 decades of Christmas: Stretch Armstrong and Nerf guns. Mm-hmm. Why do we remember those two things? Because Stretch Armstrong was the coolest thing ever, and everyone was so excited and joyful when it was the first doll that you could stretch its arms out. And number two, why do we remember Nerf guns? Well, it's because our whole family engaged in a 2-hour Nerf war, and we talked about it for at least a decade after that. Now, once we were grown and moved out, like, it was really insignificant. I think my parents might have still had the Nerf guns lying around, even long after they stopped making the actual Nerf balls or pellets that we could use. But those times were so memorable and so joyful for us that those are the items that we remember. We still to this day talk about having adult Nerf gun fights.
Yeah, and going along with that, I think that if everyone can think about an item that is significant to them, it has an experience around it. And so, like we have, backpacks that we take on every trip. We have a kayak that we, go for adventures in. Leo has his favorite toys that he takes with him when he goes to play days and things like that. So most things that we really appreciate have significance because they're tied to an experience or a memory. And so to kind of play off of that idea, we want to kind of dive into this idea that instead of getting an item, maybe you should treat your family to an experience.
Yeah, and I have a good segue kind of penciled in my notes. So I did a minor amount of research, and mainly for the purpose of offering you guys some statistics and things to get the mind churning, get you thinking outside of the marketing mayhem box that we're all, by the way, we're all kind of exposed to it. And Marissa and I are not perfect in this area by any stretch of the imagination. We have purchases and things like that we make from time to time that we're like, man, we really got shafted on that.
Yeah.
But because we've kind of thought outside of this box, it's very rare that we make a purchase or we put money in places where we don't feel like we get a ton of value out of it. So, first of all, ABC, I believe, published an article in 2017. They may have republished it, but the statistic that they came up with was $700 that an individual is going to spend on Christmas. That was in 2017. The total spend estimated on Christmas was about just shy of $500 billion, $500 billion. Investopedia, really great investing website, investing education website, published that in 2018 the average amount was about $885. In 2019 the amount is expected to be between $900 and $1,000. About $920 is a number they estimate, but I've seen other figures close to $1,000. About $1 trillion spend estimated around Christmas time. Let's say around the holiday time this year. Of the population that's spending, say on average $1,000 per person, 33%, so a third, expect to spend at least $1,000 on the low end. 22% expect to spend between $500 and $1,000. 30%, another third, expect to spend between $100 and $500, and less than 3% plan to spend less than $100 on Christmas. And I believe these statistics, just to put them in context, it's one person spending for other people. So I'm assuming the poll was, how much do you intend to spend on Christmas, to the person answering, and they answered, well, way over $1,000 or between $500 and $1,000, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I also, keep those figures in mind. Let's just say the number's around $1,000 per person. I also did a little bit of research about credit card debt, because I've seen and read articles before that Americans especially add a ton of credit card debt around the holidays. It makes sense for obvious reasons, but the average American prior to the holidays carries around about $9,000 in credit card debt. Not total debt, that number is closer to 35 or 40 if you've read any statistics, but let's say it's just $9,000 in credit card debt. Bear in mind that that's about 20 to 25% interest. That debt is bearing that much interest on average. So let's say that's between $200 and $300 in interest. The average American adds $1,000, give or take, in credit card debt around the holidays. So January 1 hits, the average American has $10,000 in credit card debt. If they were to pay that off in a standard amount of time, it would take about 4.5 years. They'd be spending close to $300 a month just on interest, free money that they're giving away. So over 4.5 years, let's call it 4 years, that's, if I'm doing my math right, 300 times 12 is 3,600 times 4, that's about $12,000 in free money.
Yeah.
Now, are my numbers probably way off? Yes, I was never a math student. I just had a really good memory when I was in school. So please forgive me if the factors are off. You guys can spend your own time doing the calculations. The point is, all of this extra free money is not going to serve you. It's going to serve the company that is financing that lifestyle. Mm-hmm. But in addition, when you think about these figures, this $1,000 per person, so let's say it's $2,000 for, let's make it really simple. Let's say that you're going to spend $1,000 total on Christmas this year. My question to you is, where could you travel for $1,000? For some of you, it might not be outside the country. It might be inside the country. It might be a simple trip to visit family. It might be within a short drive. But if you think about where you can place that money, other than a tangible item, which I'll kind of expound on here after Marissa has a chance to chime in. If you think about where you can put that money, the chances are you can find a place, a trip, an experience that you would much rather put that money into, invest that money into, than a tangible item.
Yeah, and so my family and Mike's family, we've kind of really started to take hold of this this idea that we are going to invest more in experiences than things. And
Tell them how it started.
Yeah, it all started when Mike and I were really tired of just asking people, what gift card do you want? What is something that we could buy for you that you haven't already bought in for yourself? And, why do we feel obligated to give presents to people who really, they don't want anything that they haven't already got? They just don't.
It became a very awkward conversation, like, all right, we're all adults now, so what do you want for Christmas? Or, it's not like we're living at home together anymore. We have our own lives, our own stuff going on. And so, I don't know, what do you like? We stay in touch, but I don't know what you like or what you need. I haven't kept up on you with you every day for the last 6 months.
Right. And so it usually ends up being like, I'll give you a gift card to Old Navy if you give me a gift card to Panera. And you're like, great, wow, how memorable was that? And so instead, Mike and I were driving down the road one day on one of our road trips, and Mike just had this great idea. Why don't we make experience boxes for our family? And so we sat down and we planned a special day or event for each person. And so we planned date nights for our parents. Both of our parents are still together, and we set up a box. Like, my parents went to the Anheuser-Busch brewery. We got them little...
They're in St. Louis.
Yeah, so they're in St. Louis. We got them little koozies. We had little question cards for them to ask each other while they were hanging out. And we put all this stuff in a box, and then we made a little printout. It was free to make, and made a little printout of the instructions of what they had to do, and they had a blast. They took pictures. They really embraced that experience. And then Mike did something similar for his family. You had a date where your parents got to sit by the fire and make different kinds of s'mores.
Yeah, and so we got them different types of Hershey's chocolate and different types of marshmallow, even, I think, different types of graham crackers. And then we gave them graham cracker recipes, different, I think strawberry shortcake was one, or strawberry cheesecake.
Yeah.
There's a Reese's Pieces s'more. It was a really awesome time. And so it was you guys can probably tell from our voice, it was as much fun for us creating the experience, even though I was just joking, kind of laughing to myself when Marissa was talking about these cute little handouts that took me 6 hours to make each one. I was such a perfectionist about each one because I was like, man, this is going to be the first gift that I get Marissa's family, so it has to look perfect. Every link has to be exceptional. The graphic has to be great. And so we loved the finished product.
They were so fun.
It was really fun. And then I don't want to jump over what you were going to say, babe, but it was so joyful that 4 months after Christmas was when people really got to use their experience. And they were so thrilled about it. They were taking pictures and sending it to us. They documented the whole thing. So it was we got 3 or 4 gifts out of one gift. It was a gift to us. It was, and call us selfish for wanting to have some joy in giving someone a gift. But it was, we had a gift to ourselves by creating the gift before anyone ever knew about it. Then when they received it, it was awesome to watch their reaction. Though some people they weren't thrilled about our gift. They were like, "Oh wow, a $10 gift card," but which came with the experience, of course. But then it was awesome to watch it manifest over the course of months. And we know that we haven't asked him about it yet, but Marissa's parents, for example, we know that it was a wonderful time for them to connect during their Anheuser-Busch tour. So had they been to the brewery before?
No. Yeah.
So they had never been to the brewery before. We forced them to ask questions like relationship questions. It wasn't super in-depth like anything that was uncomfortable. It was just kind of fun conversation starters. We know that them going on that trip and not thinking about anything, kind of knowing where they were going to go, was a joy to them. And then, so we haven't asked them yet, but now we get to ask them, hey, so how was that? And we get to kind of relive that experience with them.
Yeah, and kind of going along with that, what we did for your sister and her husband, we designed a scavenger hunt through Houston. You remember they came down here and we put them on a scavenger hunt through some of our favorite places here, so that they got to experience them. And they're photographers, so a lot of them had really cool images and things where they could take pictures.
So that was the thing. We did a photo scavenger hunt.
Yeah.
So we added monuments and like Joel Osteen's house and like a bunch of stuff, which I later found out it was Tillman Fertitta's house, not Joel Osteen's house. But anyway, some different monuments, places to see, places to take pictures, and that in and of itself was like a whole crazy experience. Then they got to, I don't know if they ever did, but they could like take the photos out and create like a collage of their experience in Houston, and it just made this really fun experience for all of us.
Right. And so, if you think about your Christmas experiences, obviously, we don't expect you guys to go all out like we did. We really thrive on that kind of planning and fun stuff. But if you think about your Christmas experience and you think about, last year you got your mom, a gift card somewhere, like maybe for a massage. She probably really appreciated that experience, but what do you think that she would appreciate a little bit more? Like maybe you could plan a day together where you guys went and did something. Maybe you could plan, a trip together if you want to spend a little bit more money. Maybe you could just do, send them somewhere, send your parents somewhere, whatever would really fulfill more of a memory and more of a lasting impact is what we want to encourage you to do.
Yeah. So what Marissa's sharing is, let's say that your goal is to help you think through this. So let's say that you have on your list to get your parent a crock pot or a pan or something in the kitchen. So it's a wonderful gift. But we almost want to challenge you, like, how can you take that to the next level? Well, I'm not going to encourage you to go spend more money on more pans. Don't get a bigger, cook set or cookware set. Why don't you add in some recipes and maybe even go get some produce or some Whole Foods and kind of create an experience around that item.
Yeah.
That would be a really fun idea. Or like Marissa said, so a massage or a spa treatment is not a bad idea. It's a great idea, actually, an experience. But, most people will go get a spa experience on their own. So is it a great gift? Of course. And in many cases, some people don't get spa treatments. So maybe it's a wonderful gift. But why not make it an event or a day? So maybe the spa treatment precedes a photo shoot, like a family photo shoot. Or maybe the spa treatment is after doing a race, like a 5K together. Or, maybe there's a meal planned in or something like that. The idea that we're hoping to plant in your mind is, in addition to these kind of audible motions that we go through around the holidays when we're just, we're trying to do something great. We have the best of intentions, but we just kind of follow what the noise tells us. How can you add your own creativity and your own special flavor to the gift that you're giving so that it leaves an impact? Mm-hmm. Again, going back to that question that we kind of posed to everyone around us. So what was the coolest gift that you got in the last 10 years? It was hard for 50% of people had an answer. 50% had no answer. Mm-hmm. And of the 50% that had an answer, it was one or two items in a decade. Mm-hmm. And so if that's $10,000 or maybe less that someone has spent in on Christmas gifts, if we're going on the numbers earlier, like where's that money really going? And I really didn't circle back around to this topic, but where could that money be better spent? So I use this example sometimes when we're talking with our clients who have us book trips. When we flew to Hawaii, our airfare round trip for the two of us was under $600. When we flew to New Zealand, our airfare for two people, I love sharing this because, at one point I was like, well, I don't want to, I feel bad that we spent this much money. But now when I learn what keeps people from going to somewhere like New Zealand, it's usually the airfare. And maybe taking time off work. It's a long flight, so you want to spend a little bit of time there. But flying to New Zealand cost us less than $2,000 for both of us round trip. I'm happy to share how we went about that. It wasn't all cut and dry, just one nonstop flight for $2,000. There were some hoops that we had to jump through and some turns that we had to make, but that New Zealand trip is one of the most memorable experiences we've ever had, either of us individually. And so when we think about where that average $1,000 or whatever the number is for you could be spent, I would wager a bet that you can find something that is even more impactful, more significant, and more memory creating than any specific item, any one item that you're going to give.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you think about your life, your past, most of the things that you think about as your memories are, an experience that you had with someone. And we want to encourage you guys this holiday season that the fit traveler in your life or the person in your life who is really focused on exploring more, adventuring, bettering their health and wellness, and just having a better life, they would value something like an experience so much more. We're going to get into some benefits here of things that we kind of haven't referenced yet, but as you can tell, we're pretty passionate about this. It's one of the reasons that we started our platform, just to encourage people to get out and experience more, and it's hopefully a gift that we're giving to you through our platform, and we want to encourage you to spread it with others.
Yeah, so guys, I want to talk real quick. Again, I don't want to discourage gift giving, but I do want to talk about an idea that exists in the manufacturing world, in the product distribution world, in the retail world, to almost caution you about when you buy an item, especially technology, especially high-priced technology. So there's a term, it's a 2-word term called planned obsolescence. You can research this all you want. Basically, the term says this, that when an item is manufactured, it's manufactured with the lowest cost and lowest quality of goods to cause the item to be replaced or to break down, essentially, within a certain amount of time. So think about your cell phone for a second. How many of you have a cell phone that lasts less than 2 years? How many have a phone that lasts longer than 2 years? I know very few people that have a cell phone that has lasted longer than 2 or 3 years. Either something breaks, or the software becomes outdated, or you just want to upgrade because there's an eligible upgrade after 2 years. Well, the reason that number exists is not for your benefit. I can tell you that right now. And the number I'm referring to is the 2-year contracts on your cell phone plans and things like that. Phones are manufactured to break down in a certain amount of time. And if you don't believe me, just take your phone for a second, hold it in your hand, and ask, do I believe this is going to last me 10 years, 20 years? And if the answer to you is yes, I would encourage you to do a tiny bit more research on the things that you're investing in. Take a look at a vehicle. What is the standard length of time that a vehicle lasts? There's a very finite number. It's between 5 and 10 years in most cases. And look around at everything else that you have in your home. Again, especially electronics. How long does the average computer last, or the average, you name it. I don't need to belabor the point. This concept allows companies not only to manufacture products at a low cost. So think about going to whatever your department store is, and the range of cost of goods. You can buy knives, for example, kitchen knives, for $2 and you can buy them for $40 or more, and you'll notice a great difference in quality and inevitably in the longevity of those items. And so when you're buying things, when you're investing things, you simply cannot pay attention to marketing. You can't pay attention specifically to price, or really, you can't really pay attention to anything that the store is promoting to you. You have to look past what you see at surface level and just apply a little bit of extra thought.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So going a little bit further into the benefits of an experience that you're going to give someone versus an item. And so obviously the first one we touched on would be creating memories that are going to last a really long time of, it might be a fun time. It might also be a little bit of an awkward time, or it might be a little bit of a crazy time, but you're going to remember that. It's going to be something that you guys will be able to take with you long term. Not only that, but something that we get really jazzed about. It causes you to explore new places. Definitely, not the first, or my parents have lived in St. Louis their whole lives and they haven't been to that brewery to do the tour. And so like pushing them out of that comfort zone to really go explore a new place. For us, we plan experiences for each other, for gifts, and it allows us to kind of push the boundaries and go look at new things. And then obviously learning new things is the last one. It's just kind of a cool experience when you can give someone something they've never done before. Like say you have a friend who always wanted to, learn to play the guitar. Great, gift them a guitar lesson, something like that. So it can kind of push them into that comfort zone. I gifted Mike golf lessons last year, and so he got to go and learn how to play golf. And it's something that, is going to stick with him for a long time.
Yeah, and that was like 6 months of joy that I received, although it was not joyful. If any of you guys know how to play golf, it was not joyful at all learning how to play golf and being painfully terrible. And I'm not much better than painfully terrible now, but the sport is not very fun when you don't know how to play. And so just the fact that I was able to go experience that and learn, my goal was only to find my way around a golf course without somebody telling me, Mike, you can pick up your ball, like you've that's enough strokes this hole. And so it's been a really fun process. But I also want to mention one thing before we switch gears and sign off. So you can learn a lot anytime Marissa and I have an opportunity to connect with an elder couple. We dive in and ask as many questions as we can, because you can learn a lot from those who have come before you. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that we have found, we've had the really beautiful opportunity to interact with a lot of folks that have been married 30, 40, 50 years. And they love imparting wisdom and insight on us, a very young, newly together couple. And they always say, they always mention the memories that they have, number one. But number two, they always talk about experiences that have some type of learning involved. Even if it was a painful experience, they learned something through it. Mm-hmm. And so we hear all the time, I remember, a time when I was younger and my wife and I took dancing lessons. I remember a time when it was the first time I fill in the blank. It's the first time I realized this, or I recognized this, or I learned this. And, they love saying, hey, if there's anything I've learned after X number of years, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Another example that we have in our life is Marissa's grandma, mm-hmm. who is 90 plus years old and sharp as a tack. Mm-hmm. She is amazing. But she has also shared with us, she claims that the reason that she still feels and seems so young is because she's taking painting lessons. Isn't she taking dancing lessons?
She's quilting and painting.
And she golfs, right?
Yeah, she golfs. She goes to the health club 3 times a week.
She stays engaged. So one of the really powerful statements she said to me, and it was really interesting because even though there were other people around, I felt like it was just her and I, and there was like music in the background, and it was like a scene from a movie. And she's like, I stay engaged. Mm-hmm. That's what keeps me young. I keep learning. I keep moving forward. I keep my mind active. Mm-hmm. When you turn your mind off and all you listen to is what you can see and pay attention to regarding marketing, you're fighting a losing battle. Mm-hmm. But when you keep your mind turned on, you keep the creativity alive, and you think in an abundant mindset, you're set up for the win.
That was really good. I like that. A little bit of, not as a deep thing I wanted to throw in, is you kind of probably hear us talking along the lines of like giving people trips and giving people things that might sound a little bit out of your price range, but the beauty of the experience is that you can make it cost as much as you want. People just want to connect with you. They want your time. And so if you don't have the financial means to really give a giant trip to someone, just plan a day with them where you either, go to a park or go to, go walk along the beach or do something that you can just spend time with a person. And that experience will be so valuable to them that, you don't have to spend a ton of money to really give this kind of a gift to someone.
Yeah. And on that note, if you want help or ideas about how to create an amazing experience on a budget, a specific budget, send us a message. Let us add some creativity and let us help you out.
We would love to.
So real quick, Marissa, there's one thing that we believe everyone can use more of this holiday season. It's completely free. Some people pay for it, but it's completely free. It's something that you can give without, running out of energy. It's something that you can give without, costing you anything. And it's something that will add the absolute most value to anyone. What is it?
Gratitude. We really, really want to encourage you guys in this season of thankfulness to just take a step back and realize what you have and what is around you and what you're blessed with. We try to do this daily. I think sometimes you can get caught up in all of the things that you want and all of the things that you're trying to get to and always going forward and stressing to get to the next thing. But if you just pause in the moment and really realize what you have and just really appreciate that, I think that it will definitely enrich your holiday season.
Yeah, and it's not just pausing to think about what you have to be grateful for. It's also pausing and thinking about other people that you can impart gratitude on, people that you can let them know how thankful you are. I introspect all the time, probably too much. I'm way too caught up in my own mind, but I've had the privilege of being able to impart gratitude on a few people that are close to me in my life, and it takes them so far outside of their shell. The reaction is, it's out of this world. You take someone who is naturally monotone, shows no emotion, no exaggeration, and you say, thank you, you're great, I appreciate you, and they brighten up. It's like their whole energy changes. And man, if that isn't powerful, if that isn't the most powerful thing, I don't know what is.
Yeah. So we really encourage you guys, if you can't give anyone anything else, give them the gift of gratitude. Yeah. Tell them that you're thankful for everything they do and mean it. Listen to them and really appreciate the things about them that you can.
Yeah.
So we hope this was helpful. A little bit different today. We wanted to get into, gifts for the fit traveler. And when we started thinking about all the items, we just felt like we wanted to go a different direction.
Yeah, we've got plenty of gadgets, tools, resources on our website, tofittravelers.com/resources. But if you're looking for a gift that's really going to leave an impact on the fit traveler in your life, think gratitude, think experience.
Absolutely. So we'll catch you guys in our next episode. Until then, keep on doing your biggest adventure goals.
Here at Two Fit Travelers, we have a mission to add value to you. If we've impacted you in any way, please consider sharing this episode with a friend or family member that could use an encouraging word. Your support means the world to us, and we thank you for listening. We'll look forward to speaking with you on the next episode. Stay adventurous and be well.